So I guess reflect on the 14 years that I've been a Roblox user. I asked my community what they wanted to know about my experience on the site and operating the channel. So without further ado, let's get this underway and try to answer all this as efficiently as possible. Thoughts on Burger King? Whopper Whop. I feel like these are just like the most IQ draining commercials in the media right now. Funnily enough, I think Burger King is the best fast food restaurant out there right now because they always send me coupons in the mail. The Wendy's near my apartment is run by snails. McDonald's is dead to me after they got into NFTs, and Taco Bell is garbage wrapped in garbage. So yeah, I guess they win. Why are you still playing Roblox? I guess if it all comes down to it, really the only reason why is that my account still exists. I mean, I haven't been kicked off the website, haven't lost everything. Still very low activity for the most part. What I'm mostly doing today is helping out with and submitting to the Roblox library, where I'm a newsletter writer, and also I've been producing books for the library on my own accord, which you can probably see right here beside me. But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm mainly doing at this point. It's not really for any video making purposes or anything like that. Favorite era or golden years on Roblox? So I would have to say probably like mid 2011 to mid 2012. I think that was like the height of the studio tools being developed. There was mega places, there was terrain generation, there was water, there was lighting, there was physics. I think it was just before the point where Roblox hadn't reached 100,000 concurrent users yet. It was before the 2.0 packages, I know that as well. It was like before the mobile app really got going. I think the only exception of like what sort of sullied that time period was the ambassador program, where you could generate a link that you could post on their websites to try and like bring more site traffic in for a few tickets a day, something like that. And yeah, that was short-lived because all it really attracted were unhappy people for the most part. What's your favorite memory? So I don't think you mean like staring at the snowflakes falling on the rooftop of the parking garage in college in the dead of night amongst all the streetlights. So if you mean Roblox, I think it was when I had a semi-successful sword fighting game for a couple months that I actually ran like a day-night cycle, which is pretty unique at the time. Switching the editions back and forth depending on the time of day. There would be a graveyard that would open at night, and I hid secrets all over the place. You can find, like, piece together a story of how the garden got there that you're sword fighting in. If you wound up entering alone, a bunch of people also like submitted statues for the place. I think that was maybe like the summer of 2011 or 2012 or something. So seeing that become semi-popular, making a game, getting to see it flourish for a little bit, those are some good times. So is old or new Roblox better? This one is really a tough argument to water down, but if I sort of had to summarize it really briefly, with new Roblox you have much more sophisticated games, tools, and avatars to both, entertain yourself and express yourself. But old Roblox was safer, felt a lot more of a close-knit community, and also a lot less affected by brands and other media. What old Roblox event was your favorite? So if I had to pick between a couple of them, I'd probably say one would be the 2009 Roblox Halloween Treasure Hunt, I think it was, followed by the 2010 Halloween Paintball tournament or match or whatever it was. Both were, officially Roblox made, pretty sophisticated for their time. I think there was also like a 2009 or 2010 Thanksgiving turkey hunt, something like that. Which I don't remember much about it other than it was like put together in a week, and it was still pretty impressive. Favorite hats or accessories, or 3 favorite hats? So if I had to choose, I would probably go with the yellow dealy boppers, the classic pirate hat, and the 2008 Roblox visor, which somehow I own because for whatever reason they kept that on sale, I think 2 or 3 weeks into the new year. So I was able to pick that up and technically get away with being right on the cusp of being a 2008 user, I guess. I don't know. It's pretty nice. It makes people do a double take, pretty much. When's the next forum simulator video? Well, first of all, the forums are dead. But I thought about maybe kind of like an epilogue sort of project about trying to get the forums back. You know, sort of like following the tale, the chosen one, the simulator guy, what he's up to now. Sort of like a movie of sorts that really would have nothing to do with the forums themselves. Just trying to make do with the facts, but I would probably be more motivated to do it if we also just didn't, you know, like call the series there, just like put it to bed, just leave it alone. Yeah, probably not gonna come back to it, honestly. What is something you've done on Roblox that you're proud of the most? So I guess beyond the sword fighting place I talked about, maybe this was like, I don't know, mid 2009, early 2010, something like that, where I was playing a game of like Mike's Paintball, and then randomly, Matt Dusek, one of the Roblox's oldest staff members, and I think it was an old moderator called Bry Guy, something, numbers like that, also joined. You know, we filled a server up and we got to battle them and everything like that. You know, I definitely did better than the both of them. I think, you know, killed them both plenty of times. It was like killing Telemon and sword fights on the heights, something like that, if I had to compare it. But I also like went on the forums and talked about like, oh, this is so cool, I got to see 2 Roblox admins and play with them, and there were like other users. You know, again, this is early days, just like everybody's like, oh, 2009ers don't do anything that cool, there's no way, you're lying. Freaking Matt Dusek shows up on the forums just like, you know, Kiltol, it was great to meet you, you were unstoppable, hope to play with you again sometime, or something like that. And everybody's like, yo, you're a 2009er, and the Yamans are paying you a compliment. I don't know, that was a pretty awesome day. Pretty fleeting memory. I wish I saved something, some kind of memento about that, but nah, that was pretty cool. I know I specifically picked Matt Dusek to be in a scene in the Schadenfreude music video, you know, banning a user who spilled food on him or something like that, because I knew he was probably my favorite administrator in my eyes because of that event. Weirdest thing. Are you talking about like the internet in general? Like everything? Quicksand fetish. What got you into Roblox in the first place? Okay, so way back in the early days of YouTube, 2008, something like that, a popular genre of comedy videos was like Super Mario 64 parodies on an emulator. So people would have like, you know, skits of dying in silly ways and music videos of some degree. People would emulate it so they could, like, you know, retexture Mario into their own original characters, something like that. And there were 2 users, one was Fleska Jurta and one was Lemurboyo7, and they had a handful of Roblox videos, so that was sort of piqued my interest, and how I wound up investigating Roblox and making an account. 2009 was 14 years ago? Yes. What motivated you to make the forum simulator videos? So I think the origins we put into the intro of version forever, based off of like 4chan, Pony Thread, simulator, stuff like that. I think some people on Roblox were doing that before this channel was. But I think by the second edition, I think the mission sort of became, you know, continuity between parts, so be interested in seeing all of it, but also try and like push the mold to make it a bit of a story, to be more selective, to make sure that whatever was included would be funny, and then to sort of start encapsulating the feeling that, you know, every mark we make on a forum is, you know, both permanent and fleeting at the same time. I sort of disagreed with the thought that some people would have that like the forums were the worst part of the website, that nothing good could come out of them. You know, you sort of have to have that awareness to look at the good parts of it. And I guess that was kind of like the vibe or the tone that sort of became the ending of the series. Was there Roblox machinimas? Sure, I mean, Johan SKO was probably the earliest and best example of that, proof of it. So these questions are kind of saying, would the kinds of like comedic videos made back in the day work today? I think it would still work. I think it would just have to be a little more real time. A lot of what I see is popular these days is like gameplay and commentary recorded at the same time. That's not my kind of thing, honestly. I think it's too much about me, puts me too much front and center. I also think like if you keep that going for a long time, it would sort of gain a bit of notoriety. And everybody would sort of like know this guy is popular for ruining everyone's time, or I'm being followed into places and folks are trying to do something for attention. It doesn't seem quite as authentic. When you make your bank on messing with people, it sometimes inadvertently paints a target on their back. So in the end, it's possible, but I think it has to be done with a bit of tact, a little more. I wouldn't say streamer oriented, but yeah, it's not so much the events of the game itself, but rather who's doing the filming and how entertaining are they being, along with what's going on. If you could bring any feature from the Are You Joined Roblox of present day, I would probably do bring any gear into any place. So there was an old item called like the 2010 Roblox fireworks or something like that. And I killed so many people because for whatever reason that was marked as a social item. So you could take it out, you could jump, and you could actually like put it behind your head and you could launch it. So you would fire it at people just like mind their own business, waiting to play a mini game or something like that. And there was so much chaos with that. I really should have been making videos as early as back then to capture some of the reactions to harming people with that gear. So yeah, gear into any place. What feature on Roblox do you miss the most? Probably the forums. Yeah, I guess I'd say the forums. Now I understand the site was growing too much and was starting to get too many bad actors to moderate on the forums, but that part of Roblox was the place to get the most real-time updates on the development of the game. And as development did slow down and it grew more meticulous, it became too much about community drama. It became a lot less of having a voice in the direction of the game. So ultimately, I think it's a good idea that it was shut down, unfortunately. What happened to Kanterlope? They became the Apple and had an existential crisis, if I remember correctly. So did I have a great time on Roblox, and would I go back and join it if I knew my experiences would pan out the way they did? Did I spend too much time on some things that I invested in that I didn't get anything out of in the end? I would maybe say absolutely. Would I regret any of that? I would say no. It still taught me a lot. That's pretty much the gist of it. Remember the Vaktovians. That sounds like a clan, and I was never in one, and most have faded from memory. So these questions all talk about some kind of downfall. Now first of all, I don't think the forums necessarily did anything. I think there were two major points. One point was when Roblox got a mobile app. I think at about the same time the Developers Exchange also released as well. So you had a point where everything sort of became a cutthroat money-raising race that eventually became exploiting young game developers. And the mobile app sort of spread Roblox everywhere to more devices to give it more incentive to make it big. But I'd say the biggest harm that also led to Roblox's greatest rise as a corporation was the COVID-19 pandemic. It was when all the kids were at home and this became a truly global game with a bunch of like competing countrywide internet safety protocols, and the creeps realized this is where most kids hang out, and Google Trends can tell you that this was essentially the point where Roblox had stepped out from behind Minecraft's shadow. And sure, you had problems with online dating, a decade back from 2020, but you also didn't have major social media platforms like Twitter and Discord at the size they are now, where you can fall into shady material and bad communities. That was sort of like the late 2010s. So the mobile app and DevX was what began to taint things, but the influx of players in 2020, with the inclusion of other social media in the late 2010s, made it much more dangerous for everyone. What are you doing with your life? How's life? What's going on? I'm hanging in there. I go to work as an internet marketer, I play Steam games and write in my spare time, and I watch my sports ball teams on the weekends. But other than that, what do you see modern Roblox as? Is there nothing good about it anymore? I would say it's what you make it. So there are plenty of good opportunities to, make new friendships or be social with the ones you already have. But you also have to be very wary of all the predators, of course, and the ways in which the game wants you to be a consumer. You're also now in the early years of the metaverse, as cliche as it sounds, where you can experience some once-in-a-lifetime things and make some new memories, and certainly technology is getting better. Things are getting awesome, but there is a lot to wade through and perhaps block out if you really want to enjoy your time here to the fullest. When are you dropping Roleplayers 5? So, funny enough, I had a premise set out for that as far as like mid-2016, but I lost it when I had a computer breakdown. It would have been a lot like 3, starring Goofy Gordon, and it would start with like the clips of everyone saying like, "Get out," and "Run from Barney," and it'd have an intro animation where, Gordon is sitting alone in a home in Robloxity, and, he's reflecting for a bit, and decides to stand up and walk out the door to try again, but I never got to save the animation, and I didn't record any gameplay footage. But if I were to publish Roleplayers 5 now, I would do the same approach. What is your proudest work yet? So that's probably between the Roblox Talk Farm Simulator Forever or the Schadenfreude music video. So one was a long, arduous undertaking with multiple things coming together, but a lot of stress. And Schadenfreude turned out to be a good animation with a lot of work that I took my time with and had my own direction with, and I'd love to do something like that again. Actually, now that I think about it, Wonderful Afternoon sort of won a now-defunct contest, but I think the stress of putting that together in a week, even if it was memorable, I felt too negative to feel proud about it. I mean, I was the last entry. I stole the top singular spot that Snyford had locked up, and I still feel badly about it. Is Roblox real? Now, that depends. If you never own a physical piece of Roblox merchandise in your life, Roblox can remain a virtual entity that you never interact with on a tangible plane and could say it's just a digital construct and nothing more. Should you go back to playing the game? Just like I think how I said about like modern Roblox, it all depends on what you want to get out of it. If it's just to have a good time, play some games, you can certainly do that. If it's to make something of yourself, to produce something, you'll have a lot of competition at this stage. Hopefully you still have friends to interact with or a way to fulfill yourself. And if you want to escape it like this guy, I guess, does, it's realizing that there are other platforms out there with better experiences that your friends might be playing and participating in. So if your time isn't granting you new skills or enjoyment, then I think you should probably put aside Roblox for good. But yeah, that's my advice. Is there any video you regret making? Oh, so this is a good question, and that is the unlisted open appeal to Slingshot Chunky video. The one where the forum moderator deleted my Roblox related story. It's not that I feel bad for calling him out. I mean, no, Slingshot Junkie was still a complete overreacting dummy who tried to cover up his mistake and not reviewing what he deleted by claiming he was protecting other users from feeling bad about me criticizing him. What I regret is that I made a big deal when the story wasn't even that good. It's an inside joke about a forum post about like how we're all pigs trapped in Roblox bodies, and in the story this guy goes around with like a portable vacuum taking off their faces, and there's no resolution. No one manages to stop what's happening. I mean, nothing profound. It's just one mindless rampage turning everyone's heads into pigs. The story should not see the light of day again. I mean, if anything, Slingshot Junkie knew what he was doing, burying that, but I can't forgive that impulsiveness. But he couldn't be bothered to read what was like less than 900 words to see if something actually broke the rules. What were your opinions on major updates like adding UGC items? So it was a great idea to give all kinds of tools to allow others to express themselves the way they want, and make it pretty affordable too. But it was a horrible idea to make the guidelines so lax that like creators can take the copyright and the likenesses of others and generate their own income off of it. I like layered clothing and accessories, but I am not a fan of how silly a lot of UGC items are. Opinions on the Ruben Sim lawsuit? Plenty. So I'll say, given my background in legal writing, that the entire lawsuit accomplished nothing. It didn't look good for Roblox. It changes no laws or legal precedents, particularly about dodging bans in games, being denied access to online services. It reinforced a precedent that making libellous statements about a company makes you take an L, in this case one worth $150,000. I hope they can somewhat work together to clean up the predatory stuff plaguing Roblox every day. Please stick to taking care of the bad actors in front of you and walk the thin line carefully. What's your fave modern Roblox game? Awesome question. So I don't play a lot of Roblox games these days besides the Roblox library, Retail Tycoon 2, and Expedition Antarctica. I love this game about hiking to the South Pole. I badly want to make a video about this on like a guide to this thing because it's a really challenging hobby with a little bit of immersion thrown in. I seemingly keep coming back to it. Is there anything you would change from your Let's Talk Roblox videos? Not really. They're all my best guesses as to how I think like certain features would roll out. Everyone hated Anthro at first, but that's cooled off. Jailbreak is no longer number one. The parties at Meep City were the problem, but now it's somewhere else. I mean, everything about my opinions is still pretty much intact. What do you regret doing the most on Roblox? I would say not spending enough time in studio. And has to be apparent in like how void some of the settings are in some of the videos, and how they were. I guess like the size of the house and the manning, I guess. Other than that, I just wish I was kinder to people, and I hope that I haven't made anyone feel like they have to keep holding a grudge against me. How did you make those stop motions? Now that's too complicated, so I'm going to skip that one. How did I do the faces? I drew them all myself. There has to be at least 150 of them, but I will not share them and all the custom assets that I made, but were never really released. Yeah. If the Roblox forums came back, would you make videos on them again? Absolutely. But maybe not in continuing the simulator series when it's supposed to be over. I wouldn't be participating in them to mine them for content. But as I said, I think it's best that they should stay gone. So, looking back at older and more successful content compared to lesser viewed content now, asking what it's like, I mean, it's fine. Because it's always stuff that I wanted to make. I mean, it doesn't really matter if not as many people find it or find it more engaging. It's what fulfilled me at those moments in time, and I've got pretty good reason to believe that they're worthwhile to at least some people. So essentially, do people think that the older years of Roblox are better because they were younger? I mean, definitely. I mean, the whole way that this works is that you look back with less clear memories about all the positive things, and then you bury yourself in the present day with all the problems that you see. I mean, rather than focusing on what keeps bringing you back to it today. Like, I mean, definitely rose-tinted glasses, and, thinking that, whatever's great can only go downhill with time. I think that's a bad perspective to have. I think believing that is going to make you more miserable eventually. Did you pick up any recreational hobbies? Sure, I like flying stunt kites and rollerblading. I'm sure the latter could kill me someday, so if I suddenly disappear without a trace, that's probably why, trying to get around. Thinking back, it's kind of ironic that Everything is Macabre always wears a helmet when I never regularly skateboarded, just skated. Really the only reason why a skateboarding helmet is even in a profile is because it was cheap to buy at the time. What's your biggest dream? To retire happy and wealthy enough to make a final lasting impact in another's life before I pass. Or, if we're talking about Roblox, I would say a huge multi-part machinima of sorts with like a lot of reading because I like writing more than making film, but I'd still have some animated elements to connect things in points of high action. I've had a synopsis of what I'd probably do planned since like 2020 or something. And if anything, if I was going to shut the YouTube channel down, it'd be with the biggest, most theatrical thing I'd ever do. What is better, R15? I mean, how else do you get the most expressiveness and creativity out of your avatar than with the most modern rig available? Sure wish it was easier to animate with all the given parts, but what do you do? What were your favorite Roblox YouTubers when you were prominent? So Sharp TH, Johan SKO, and Firefox. To be honest, I didn't really pay much attention to other YouTubers at the time, even then. The Wonderful Afternoon video, which does feature a lot of other YouTubers, was everyone I was basically aware of, but I won't say I watched their content very regularly. Did you ever play Robloxity? Yes, a few times to see how I'd make the Roleplayers V video I mentioned earlier. What are your top 3 favorite Roblox games of all time? A Pirate's Life by Lando64000, I think it was. Paintball Unbound by King Lime, and Deception Infection by Stickmaster Luke. Do you remember any infamous players from back then? So I knew Sonic the Hedgehog XX, who I think was the leader of the Fear Clan. I remember him the most for stealing one of the comic strips that I used to publish in like the early 2010s. I know I made a comic strip in response where I tell him to stop stealing. He says, "No, I didn't." And then there's a duplicate of my Roblox avatar waving and saying, like, "Let's go to your resort later," with Fear Rules on his shirt. All I have of proof of that now is this ad data. I don't know how to get the images back. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog XX, for whatever reason, thought he'd get away with it. How long would it take you to make a video back then? And this is tough to answer because it always varied. Something I'd animate from scratch, like a Roblox Christmas Carol, had to be like 3 weeks to build everything, make some faces and models, animate them, and spend a day or two sequencing everything. The Foreman Simulator Forever took at least 3 months. Comedy gameplay, like a day or two to film, and then a few days to sort through footage and edit it. Is there, and if so, what is the meaning behind the weird Video 7 video with the blue purple? How do you feel about RTFS inspiring a new generation of content creators? I don't know if it really did that, but as I said, I'm definitely proud of it for making memories for people. Did it inspire them to make similar things? I hope not. I hope they branch out a bit. In Siege of Quebec, peak Roblox events, it was the Valley, but at least we got a good video out of it. What do you think about the current state of Roblox for players? This is pretty similar to the past question about modern Roblox, but for the players specifically, given what I know about this site's problems, I would not recommend Roblox to any parents, and yet my boss's kids' sons play it. I mean, not with me. And I just think, oh, does he know the kinds of things that go on that could happen if they're unsupervised? But like I said, a lot of the bad things come with fodder from other mature platforms, and this game's popularity now working against it. There was an interesting video that I found between when this comment was made and when I'm recording this now about if parents are worried about the internet's impact hurting their kids, then keep them away from it, and people who are terminally online so they can't be influenced by them.
9 years old, away from these dangers from the internet.
Only 2 things. 1, you actually don't let her spend time on it, which as you know is very hard because everybody in her world will be on it.
And the other point was to just nurture their self-esteem, you know, positivity, the feeling of fulfillment, so the kids don't have to think that they lack something that either needs to be bought or a crowd that needs to be fit into. If you can tell young players that they don't need the most expensive things or to do the corrupt adult-oriented garbage that other people are doing, it might pressure them into.
2, and this is the most important, number 1 way to protect the child is to build their self-esteem. When a child is not insecure, they don't succumb to danger. Make sure she's confident about who she is, her brains, isn't overly reliant on how she looks. Build her actual self-esteem, because you're not going to be able to watch her every minute. You make her confident in who she is, that she's amazing the way she is. She will not succumb to other people.
But all that comes down to parenting and ingraining that belief that they trust their child to do the right things online and that they know their worth and are immune to being influenced. Back when I was a teenager, I was never solicited in the ways that I'd imagine today's kids are being preyed upon now. It takes a lot of vigilance and, technical literacy beyond just how to navigate just Roblox to stay safe on the site now, and I just hope that everyone learns it. Lastly, we have what's your favorite song and why does the last question have to be the hardest one? Why would you do this to me? Why would you make me choose? So the best I can do is try to pick songs from my favorite genre, which is indie, but I'd have to stratify it into 3 different subgenres. That being indie pop, which is There's Still a Light in the House by Valley, an absolute banger. Indie folk, Kalamazoo by the Show Ponies, which is a nice foot stomper. And then Indie Rock, which is Where June Meets July 7, the Cicada Song Part 2 by Ajay, which is just one part of one of the best underground concept albums of all time, point blank, period. Yeah, this is this is a great question. That was really tough. Yeah, that was a really bad question. That made me think a little bit too much. Now I am exhausted. So that's got to be everything, hopefully. Thank you so much for watching, for sticking with me. I'm gonna try to make sure it pays off in the end, and finally, hope to see you again soon. Okay, as a side note, I find it funny that there's all these questions, but none of them relate to where the channel name came from. Guess that's a question for another 14 years.